Well, that was a soul-crushing way for Mack Brown's career to end. Ugh.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And there, what's up? It's Saturday, November 30th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the live edition of the show, coming at you reacting to Carolina's regular season ending loss to NC State on the gridiron in Kenan Stadium. This is the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and you're joining me at the only place to get your Carolina content every single day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, and of course all the Locked On Discord members and Locked On Tar Heels insiders. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh boy, you guys. Ouch. On so many levels. Ouch. Like, it just hurts, man. 35-30 loss to NC State to wrap the regular season. Tar Heels finish the regular season 6-6. What a tumultuous roller coaster ride it has been. A season of multiple tales, and ending with this loss. Carolina will have a bowl game, and we'll see who will coach it because it will not be Mack Brown. And we start there on our show today. It is hard to believe that not only is Mack Brown era 2.0 over, but that means that Mack Brown's career is now over. And we'll say more about that later in the show and in the days to come, obviously. But man, it's just hard to believe that this is where we are. I'm wearing some black for those of you watching on YouTube in real time. I wore black, like literally in mourning, for just a sad way this ended, man. And it's so disappointed for Coach Brown, for the players, and really the fans, university, everything, man. It's just not the way this was ever intended to go. And that stinks, man. This could have been done a lot better. At a similar level, like, this is just going to be a show of disappointment. There are certainly some good things to talk about, but I mean, looking around Kenan, it was saddeningly empty. Not empty, but like not full. And you think about it, like, this should be full for a rivalry game. It should be rocking. It should be going crazy. I think that in itself is a sign of where the Carolina fan base is. Also, not only just because it's a rivalry game, it's Coach Brown's last game. This is literally his last game. And in Carolina, like, the stadium is not full. Man, it's sad. It's frustrating and it's disappointing. And I know it's got to be upsetting for these players who, by the way, have now lost 4 games in a row to NC State. And, the way their season is gone, the way Carolina's season is gone, and it's just like, surely we're going to end this losing streak. Surely be able to do that at home to send out these seniors on a good note. But it was not meant to be. And man, it's unbelievably frustrating to lose to these guys, right? And congratulations, you won a game. But man, and I just, you see Coach Brown and Coach Doran embrace before the game. They've kind of made nice from what we understand after all this stuff from last year's game. But there's just something about that, man, that rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is. Like, I am always somebody who wants to try to, like, see the good and be happy and all this kind of stuff. I just can't with him. I don't know what it is, man. It just rubs me the absolute wrong way. And I think some of it is in how he talks and in how his players act and react and in the things they do. And I know there's some good things he's done, like in the way he's taken care of some people, but it's just like that. I can recognize that and also recognize I don't like how you conduct your football team. And I don't have to, like, they don't care what I think and feel, but man, it is insane. So, for example, let's talk about this brawl, this melee. Why on earth are you jokers trying to plant a flag at midfield? Like, you know that's not going to go well, right? Like, in what world do you think, hey, you know what's a good idea? We've just won at our rival stadium. Why don't we go try and plant our flag at midfield as they're sending off their head coach, one of the 3 active head coaches with a national championship? That's smart. That's wise, right? We should totally do that. Nothing could ever go wrong. Did you see what happened in Columbus, Ohio earlier today? Of course, that's what's going to happen. So I don't understand why you would even begin to try to do that. And thank you, JJ Jones, for getting that flag and getting it out of there. Like, you got to protect your house. I know, and of course, NC State folks are going to say, well, if you want to protect your house, win. Of course, yes. But let's not do dumb things. I mean, it's just absolutely silly. And so, yes, I have no problem with you waving your flag. You won a football game. You should be allowed to wave your flag. But go do it in front of your fans, which is what they eventually did. Like, that's fine and well and good. But don't be a what is it? In Sandlot, don't be a goofus. All right, that's what you're out here doing. It's ridiculous. Get that number 5 kid off the field. Like, I no time for that. And then I was just reading a Sports Illustrated article about it. And because it was JJ Jones that did it, who was wearing Tylee Craft's jersey in this game. You know how the wide receivers have been rotating wearing Tylee's jersey? Here's what this Sports Illustrated article said. You're not going to believe that it says this. Quote, a swarm of Carolina Blue quickly reported to the scene. Pushing, shoving, and other extracurricular activities ensued. Eventually, I'm just reading this. Tar Heels wide receiver Tylee Craft grabbed the flag, ran over to the sideline, and attempted to chuck it into the stands. That only escalated things further. And the way I'm about to say this is going to sound crass and heartless. But Tylee Craft is dead. If you're going to be reporting on these things, you've got to know this, right? If you're how do you not know that this young man is no longer alive? Like, that is mind-boggling to me how you could miss something like that. We got to do better. And then let's talk more about NC State doing things. It's like, what are we doing? This hit on Kaimon Rucker, there, whether or not the cut block was legal or illegal, whatever, fine. It's still a dirty play. And those two things, like, there can be, somebody was trying to argue in my mentions on Twitter that you can't, if a play is legal, it can't be dirty. And that's not true. There are plenty of legal plays in football that are dirty plays that you just, a human should not do. And I mean, you watch this back, the play's going the other way. Rucker's not even looking. Like, what is this dude, number 52? What is he doing? And then, like, of course, come to find out, the butcher says that it's a cracked fibula. Homie, like, why are you going down for him like that? You can take him out of the play without taking him out of the rest of his season and this senior night. That's completely inappropriate. And I'm not going to try and defend what Howard Sampson did, other than to say it was basically like a retaliation pitch in baseball, right? Like, I'm a baseball player, so I know that world very well. You do something, you show up the other team, you hit our pitcher, prior to the DH, you do something like that, you're going to get plunked. You're going to. And so, like, tit for tat, right? Like, that's what that is. That is because Howard Sampson had a couple of those where he was going till the echo of the whistle kind of mentality. And I hate that the NC State guy got hurt and was out for the game. But you take out literally our best defensive player with a basically cheap shot, then I feel bad for the kid from NC State. But what do you want? And after that, it's done. It's over, right? You hit our guy with a pitch, we hit your guy with a pitch. Cool. Let's move on. But don't, It's dirty, man. It's absolutely dirty. And by the way, you cannot tell me that was not a major factor in this football game as Carolina struggled defensively in the second half. And I know the same is true for NC State, right? But it's just different because it's right there at the line of attack. And man, I got no time for that. And it feels like NC State is always doing like the way their D-backs, credit to them. They're right on the ball. But so many of those were bang bang plays that were frankly early, in my opinion, that are not going to get called. And like, that's football. I get it, man. But I cannot with that team. So I guess we haven't even really talked much about the game itself because of all the surrounding stuff from the end of Mack Brown's career to the NC State of it all and the frustration associated with them and losing. Like, face it, we got to win a football game against NC State. That's frustrating. Carolina, think about this. Carolina has not beaten NC State since before COVID was a thing. Last time was the fall of, I guess it would have been the fall of 2020. So it was like COVID had just become a thing, but still it's like, oh my goodness, got to get something figured out. So we need to get to this game itself. Carolina having a chance for the defense to step up late, just couldn't quite do it. Omarion Hampton gets back on track after a slow week at Boston College. And man, unfortunately, some missed kicks loomed large for Noah Burnett. We're going to talk about all of that and so much more coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, college basketball season is here. Man, there's absolutely nothing better than the environment of a crazy game. While things weren't exactly on fire at Kenan on Saturday night, you know they're going to be on Wednesday night at the Smith Center as Alabama comes to town. Speaking of payback and revenge, that's what Carolina has on their mind. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through everything else. And it's not just for basketball or football. It's for concerts, comedy, theater, and more. I just literally today used Game Time to buy tickets for a non-sporting event. I'm so grateful for how it helped my family get some good tickets. So whether it's Game Time ticket coverage, the lowest price guarantee, or the panoramic views from your seat in the app, Game Time has got you covered. I have found tickets for as cheap as $38 for Bama, Carolina on Wednesday night. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. Okay, for those of you watching, we're going to bring up the box score. If you're listening back to this later, you can pull it up wherever you're watching, just so folks can follow along with that. But let's talk about the actual game here itself. It's so funny because this game, it felt like it was going to be like a defensive battle. We're 7-6 at halftime, and it's like, oh boy, man, like this could be like 13-10 or something like that. But then the offenses both really found their way in the second half. So many more points were scored. 20 combined points scored in the third quarter, 32 combined points scored in the fourth quarter. And unfortunately, that was NC State outscoring Carolina 22-10 in the fourth quarter. That is not how you win a football game or finish the regular season above 500, man. And that is very, very, very disappointing. But Carolina, man, like, much to their credit, kept punching back, kept fighting back. Both teams scored. And I mean, when you look at the drive chart of this game, let's look at it chronologically. Here's the second half. Carolina had that 3-and-out to start the second half. And then, you ready for this? Here was the rest of the drives of this game. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Punt from North Carolina with about 8 minutes to go. Field goal, touchdown, touchdown, and then Carolina ends the game. That's it. Carolina punted twice in the second half. Every other possession, except for Carolina's, last one with 20 seconds left, ended in some kind of score. Carolina just needed one stop defensively, and they could not get it. And that's the thing. Like, for everything that we've talked about and gone through and done and been through, there had been the offense can, thinking back to the last couple of years, Drake May's rolling. We just need the defense to stop a couple times, and they just could not do it. And again, I don't want to put it on NC State I don't want to blame it on Kaimon Rucker not being in, but good grief, that's got to have something. Like, you cannot tell me that Carolina wouldn't have stopped State at least once in the second half with Kaimon Rucker in there. So that's frustrating. Now, as you think about that very last drive, it was kind of sad because it was like Carolina scored too quickly, left a minute 51 on the clock for NC State. Loved the play call by Chip Lindsey. That shovel pass went forever. And then, Omarion just does it all himself there with some great downfield blocking, I should say. Really, really good from the Tar Heels on that side. But then the defense wasn't able to hold. Let's talk about that final drive, because I sat there thinking, oh man, the offense is going to get to win this. Like, you just need a touchdown. Burnett's going to get to redeem himself, extra point, and you ride off into the sunset. What a great ending for Mack Brown. And then, as I said, the Tar Heels scored too quickly. So I was like, all right, fine. Now the defense gets to step up and do the job. And it just wasn't meant to be. Because here was the other thing. It got to be 1st and 20 with 64 seconds left. It was because of a holding. It moved them back to their own 39. And I was like, yes, pin your ears, go get this Bailey kid, get him down. Let's get some sacks. Let's get out of here. Or an interception. And that interception is what literally the very next play. Bailey goes for it down the right sideline. Marcus Allen is in coverage. Here comes Will Hardy from the safety position coming over to cut it off. And I got to be honest, in real time, I'm curious if you guys felt the same way. I was like, oh, that's it. Ball game. Will Hardy just picked it off. Let's get out of here. Ball game. Right? Did you think that in real time? And then, until the NC State kid, Rogers or the Ohio State transfer, Rogers comes up with it and shows it. I legitimately thought that Will Hardy had it. And it's like, oh my goodness, they're in field goal range. It's over. And that was it. That one play, the inability to stop it. And it was a great throw, a great catch. And honestly, both Allen and Hardy had good coverage on that play. But how on earth did neither of them come up with that ball? Because what I thought was good about it was that Allen did all his stuff, to keep Rogers where he needed him to. He was blanketed on him so that Hardy could come over and at the least tip it away or bother it or something. And I'm curious to hear from Hardy, was he going for ball? Was he going for man? Because it felt like he was there and in position to make a play, and he just whiffed. I don't know if it was a bad angle. I'd love to see a zoomed out all 22 of it, so you could see the angle he takes, because it sucks, but you got to make that play. One of the two of you cannot let that ball get in. And that was it. That was the game right there. So it's just frustrating. The defense, yet again, not being able to hold up their end of things. And then you start to look at it, and I know the deficit was bigger than 4 points, but the missed point after by Noah Burnett, and then the missed field goal, and gosh, the other field goal that just doinked in, right? I was just so sad for him, man, because he's just been so solid since the NC State struggles a couple years ago, the missed kick there. And again, even if he had made that point after and that 44-yard field goal he missed, you're still down one. But it changes the dynamics of play calling and other decisions that you make along the way. And I would love to have seen what position Carolina would have been in had he made both of those. So those missed kicks loomed really large in this game. All right, can we get to something happy? Omarion Hampton. I mean, just this dude is so otherworldly good. And I was so sad for him last week to not keep his 100-yard streak going at Boston College. That was just a whole mess of nothing going right, if we're being honest. But man, tonight, ground game, 22 rushes, 185 yards, and 1 touchdown. And through the air, 4 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. And I got a little concerned early in the game because one of my disappointments in the Boston College game was it felt like the play calling kind of abandoned him more than it should have, especially on a rainy day where it's like, just lean on Omarion, just keep working, it'll get there. I was worried because it kind of felt like at moments that Coach Lindsey was going away from that early in this game, but it ended up balancing out really well and being good, and they didn't go away from him. And so from that standpoint, I was proud of like sticking to your guns with just riding Omarion the way you need to, and he paid off for that, getting close to another 200-yard game. So I mean, there was one play, I can't remember when or where it was, but I think it was like a 9-yard pickup, and he was just dragging dudes for like 8 of the 9 yards. It was absolutely insane. But unfortunately, on the flip side, there were multiple, like that first big run he had for 19 yards. There was this weird, it was kind of like a blindside block, but it was more, I think they said on the broadcast, like a blindside nudge, because it was like, really? Like, we're going to call that? Okay. Like, sure, call it. Great. But just Carolina really shot themselves in the foot on penalties, like in the first quarter and through some of the second. And that's just not going to help you win ball games when it counts and when it matters. And then I haven't watched all of Mack Brown's press conference yet, but there were some not so veiled comments about how everything was handled this week with him. And we'll get to that and unpack it more, because it's just unfortunate how it played out. As he said, it didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to be what was already a difficult season for the players, didn't have to be made more difficult by the handling of this. It could have been done with the joint press conference and things like that, but it wasn't. And we move on. I understand the position the administration's in. I also understand the position that, like, Coach Brown's trying to take with protecting the players and their season, right? I don't know. It just feels like what happened this week mitigated a rivalry game in a season where you're playing to be above 500 instead of 500, playing for a better bowl instead of whatever bowl. And just, I don't know. I think this could have been done in a better way for everyone involved. All right, we want to get to, I see there's a few comments and questions. Let's see if there's any of those we want to hit on. And not enough for us to keep going with it. So I'll tell you what we'll do tonight is just wrap up. We'll get, if there's some more of those we need to unpack, I'll jot them down, and then we'll hit them on Monday or Tuesday's show as we wrap up tonight. So, man, difficult ending for Mack Brown. Not just for era 2.0, but for his career. Like that's what we're talking about here. This is it, man. It's over. He's not coaching the bowl game. He and Miss Sally walking off the field. That's it. Last time. And so, gosh, there will be more time for this, but even in the moment, to just say thank you, Coach Brown, for coming back, for spending this time, reinvesting in this university, and doing so much more to kind of get it back and going, and obviously getting Sam Howell flipped from Florida State and Drake out of Alabama's clutches, man. That's massive. And so there are great possibilities ahead for whoever's next, but we're going to have to wait and see who and what that is, man. And it's tough for it. Jimbo Babo says, was hoping for a shout out. Here you go, Jimbo. There's your shout out, man. Nice there. Man, thank you all so much for tuning in with us. If you haven't subscribed already to the Locked On Tar Heels podcast on video and audio, make sure you do that. Very easy to do on YouTube as well as on your favorite audio platform. And man, love getting to do these live post-game shows. Now it's all basketball, baby. Wednesday night after Alabama, you better believe we'll be going live. Win or lose, we'll either have a celebration, a party, or a therapy session, as we always do. Tonight was obviously very much a therapy session. And, usually therapist Isaac is able to bring some joy, and there just wasn't really much tonight, man. It was just a down night, and I'm sorry, but hey, that's what we got to do sometimes. Even still, you all, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back on Monday to unpack what else has happened over the weekend and to look ahead to what's coming this week. But until then, peace.